I wanted to take a moment to give you a closer look at Tychicus Ministries. For some of you, this might be the first time you've heard about this ministry. For others, this might be a closer look. First, the reason for our name. Tychicus is in the New Testament. He was a faithful servant to Paul, and Paul was a missionary. We do missionary care, or more commonly known as member care. We started this ministry in 2010 after doing some serious research. Since that time, we've recruited, trained, and sent 18 teams, served 12 personal visits, facilitated 8 retreats, 9 conferences, 1 international school, serving a total of 860 missionaries, 348 missionary kids, or more commonly known as TCKs, Third Culture Kids. When someone talks about mission trips, what frequently comes to mind is the middle or high school student raising funds to build a house in a developing world. The student is wildly ambitious and has visions of saving the nation in 5 to 7 days. While his desires are pure, the purposes for trips like these are to cultivate, if done properly, a cross-cultural awareness and a heart for missions. It doesn't replace the back-breaking work of global missions. The longer a servant stays in country, the more effective they become. Think about it. We have more confidence in someone who's done something for a long time. Experience builds trust. Ministry is hard. Here are some statistics recorded in a book by Lance Witt. 1,500 pastors leave the ministry permanently each month in America. Over 50% of pastors' wives feel that their husband entering ministry was the most destructive thing that ever happened in their family. 1 out of every 10 ministers will actually retire as a minister. Now add the cross-cultural piece into the equation. Political instability, sociological, cultural inferences, financial instability. The language barrier is just the tip of the iceberg. Kelly O'Donnell is a leader in the field of member care. He and his wife equip sending organizations around the world in best practices. The chart here shows the necessary pieces for missionary longevity. We serve as sender care. The outer rings you see here are for crisis situations. Why missions? Isn't there enough to do right here? Let's look at Luke's account in the book of Acts. But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and all Judea and Samaria and to the end of the earth. There is no or in this passage. We're all called to do the work of the ministry. God may not call you to the jungles of Kipling, but we still have a job to do. There is a real hell. It's not figurative, it's not imaginary, and it will take all of us locking arms to reach the nations for Christ. There are roughly 17,000 people groups in the world today. Of that population, 42% are still unreached. The circles in red on this map by the Joshua Project indicate all these unreached people groups. 25,000 people will die each and every day because they don't have enough food. UNICEF tells us there are more than 2 million children forced in prostitution today, 27 million in slavery. Missionary groups seek to bring peace to a region. They not only bring the gospel, and that would be enough, but they also lead the fight against poverty, they bring medical care to regions, and they seek to eradicate injustices. Much is happening, and it's an exciting time to be alive. Missionary agencies are switching gears, and Westerners are becoming trainers, taking their experience and knowledge to the individuals they brought the gospel. They are training Latino nationals to go into the 1040 window, breaking down barriers with their music and soccer. The Filipino Missionary Association are training women in missions, sending them to be nannies, housekeepers, speaking to women and children in areas we could never get. In Africa, the missionaries are working toward the 50-15 movement to mobilize 50,000 people in 15 years. The Chinese have 100,000 back to Jerusalem, training tent-making kingdom workers that focus on making disciples of men. The largest movement is the 414 window movement. It is called the golden window of opportunity for the global church, reaching the largest population in our world, children, between the ages of 4 and 14. It is an opportunity to transform the world. We talked about the importance of longevity for the effectiveness in ministry. Well, studies have shown that children's emotional well-being is one of the most common reasons missionaries leave the field prematurely, and it's preventable. No one talks about what they lost in an airplane ride. They need a time to process their experiences in a safe environment so the whole family is healthy for the long haul. This is where we come in. We serve the missionary in a tangible way. We talk about the challenges of being a missionary kid. Our teams primarily do conferences for the MKs, TCKs, while the adults are in their training conferences. We don't assume that because these kids are missionary kids that they have a strong faith. We challenge their faith. We give them tools to argue their faith. We believe if we provide a quality program for them, they will begin to serve alongside their parents. This is an email received from one of the families we've served. We have kids that come into these conferences just ready to have someone breathe life into them again. They are hungry. Here in America, our youth have access to quality youth programs on every corner. Why shouldn't the missionaries have a quality program once every year? Should the missionaries sacrifice everything, even their children, on the field? We not only give them a quality teaching in the Word, but we also do breakout sessions. We train them how to use their passions. We put a camera in their hands, a guitar. We help them to use their gifts for Christ. This not only gives them excellent training to use in ministry, but it helps them navigate the challenges of ministry. It provides tools to express themselves in a universal language. We train the students in music, leading worship. We will collectively lead worship for the main conference. The missionaries rarely get to sing corporately in their heart language. So to come to a conference and sing in English, they practically crawl into the conference, and it is something that is so touching. Last summer I spent much of my time studying Isaiah. I loved the servant songs, the imagery, the prophecies. But when I came up on this passage, it has always bothered me. Here, prophet Isaiah says to King Hezekiah, "And some of your sons, they shall be taken away, and they shall be made eunuchs in the palace of the king of Babylon." Then Hezekiah said to Isaiah, "The word of the Lord that you have spoken is good." For he thought, there will be peace and security in my days. What? That has always bothered me, but the older I get, it becomes more and more clear. You see, King Hezekiah has gotten comfortable. He spent his life tearing down altars, fighting against idolatry. I imagine he was tired fighting Israel's battles only to see them become harlots again and again. He stood against the Assyrians. He was living in past, and he was reveling in his victories and probably licking his wounds from battle. So when an enclave of foreigners, he didn't know they were hostile to his country, he wanted to show off his treasuries to them. The prophet Isaiah rebukes the king for this, but his response is self-serving. King Hezekiah thought as long as he was comfortable and safe in his lifetime, that's all that mattered to him. You know, if we live long enough, we will all go through some tough things. Some may be incredible to others, but you may recall how God held you in the moment. It's easy to say, "Enough, God. Haven't I done enough for you?" And we want to look for a cave off the coast of Ireland to retreat from the world like we're the last Jedi. But this is not our home. This is not our reward. Like John the Baptist, our heart needs to resoundingly say, "He must increase and I must decrease." The writer of Hebrews tells us to run the race casting aside every weight. Hebrews 12:1-2. If God is tugging at your heart to know a bit more about this ministry, I would ask you to take Him at His word. We have 3 teams we're sending this summer to serve conferences around the world. We need team members, prayer warriors, and supporters. We need people that will use their gifts and talents to train and mentor the TCKs. If you're a videographer, artist, dancer, singer, musician, tech guy, counselor, youth minister, or you want to rock a child, we're looking for volunteers. Thank you for your time.